Good afternoon. I am Margaret Postans, nee Scott. A few odd memories from the past of the Jordan family. The Jordan and Scott families have been friends for about 75 years. Our first meeting was a picnic out at Jordan's Island, even though the family had moved to Edenvale. Over all the years, our two mothers always called each other Mrs., except when writing letters it was okay to use their Christian names. Beth and I would have today's sleepovers. However, when at Beth's, we had the added problem of her three young brothers bothering us, trying to peek in the windows and hear our conversations. One evening, when Mrs. Jordan was trying to cook dinner, the boys were playing up. So in exasperation, she called Owie, asking him to do something about these boys. He looked up from his book and in a very calm, normal voice said, "Boys, listen to your mother," and returned to his book. I don't remember having much effect on the situation. Summer vacations were spent camping at Red Beach on the farmland which now is covered with big houses. How did Mrs. Jordan ever get any rest with all of us there? In those days, there was movies on Saturday nights at the Waitoki Hall. When the Jordan children and friends wanted to go, they piled into, or more accurately onto, the small farm truck. As the truck had no back reflector lights, one of the riders on the tray had to hold a torch with red paper over the beam. In 1958, my sister and I returned to New Zealand after having 3 years of working holiday in England and Canada. We had both visited Mrs. Jordan's friend, Florence Mowbray, in Ontario. They had corresponded since their days together in primary school in England. Mrs. Jordan was invited up for afternoon tea to see us, and in her usual enthusiastic voice, she greeted us with, "I want to hear all about your trip." Then she turned to my mother and said, "Mrs. Scott, did you see the price of bananas at the store today?" In a strange coincidence, when we bought a house in Tucson, to escape the winters, Beth told me that Florence Mowbray's son also had a house in Tucson to escape the Canadian winters. I checked it out and found that he was living in the same retirement park as I was and about half a mile away. Owie gave a toast at my wedding. He wrote the embellished, humorous speech by hand on the back of herd testing papers. "Waste not, want not." He told the guests of my father's big fault. He didn't play bowls. Owie's passion. After our nursing training, Beth married and started her farming life and family. Walter and I had moved to the States, so our friendship was continued with a haphazard in letters and my occasional visits home. However, while we were in California, I entertained Mr. and Mrs. Jordan and later Lloyd. We moved to Washington State, where I entertained Beth and Foxy, Graham and Jean, and Graham and Janet. While we were visiting in Vermont, Graham and Jean brought Foxy and Beth to visit. And later, Graham and Janet attended my son's wedding in upstate New York. Beth told me the story of her grandson Patrick staying with her, and she suggested to him he write the essay for school. His reply was, "Grandma, I'm a warrior, not a scribe." So the Jordan wit lives on. In 1968, I had a photo of Pam and Jan and other little girls playing dress-up on the veranda at Edenville. Pam and Jan met again in December of 2019. Mrs. Jordan wrote the local news of the Calcoppa for the Rodney Courier for years. She kept a diary, and in particular of their overseas trip. One evening when in Holland, she asked Owie the name of the street that they were on. He replied, "I don't even know what country we're in, let alone the street." My brother would go to see Beth and Foxy, a gesture Beth appreciated, as Foxy didn't have much social life and Alec was a good listener. To Cedric, the Scott and Willis families are indebted for your wise counsel and legal expertise. To Charlotte, you gave Beth much happiness with Renee's visits. He was described to me in much detail. To Jan and Graham, I thank you for the loving care you gave Beth, especially in this past year. It was a hard task. Your world gets a little smaller with the passing of each person, and mine has certainly got much smaller now. Beth was a hard-working, loving mother, friend, and wife. And in spite of all her severe tragedies in life, she never lost her sense of humor. So today, as we say farewell to a wonderful person, I extend my sincere condolences to her family, extended family, and friends. Marg.